Good afternoon and welcome to Match of the Day on a chilly weekend, but there's nothing chilly about the action coming up. There's a galaxy of goals from our two matches, Crystal Palace versus Wolves and Luton against Southampton, and a wintry Saturday did nothing to spoil the enjoyment of the match I saw at Luton, although at one time it looked as if the fog would ruin the climax of a riveting contest, but thankfully it didn't.
Today's news includes further developments in the McFarland affair, a shock for Millwall fans, and the latest on Pat Jennings.
Well, later on we shall see Alan Ruff's debut for Hibernian and introduce the November Goal of the Month competition. But we start at Selhurst Park, where Crystal Palace have yet to be beaten this season, and whose opponents, Wolves, fourth in the table, are straining every muscle to restore solvency and success to Molineux. Yet, despite the pressure, there was a spirit of goodwill all round. Your commentator, Barry Davis.
Brotherly rivalry is sharply in focus for this fixture, for both mascots come from the same family. Mark Hayes on the left, 11 years old, supports Crystal Palace, but his younger brother Ian, who's now 8, claims that he's been a Wolves supporter since he was 3 years old. And each has one new player to look at in his side today. For Crystal Palace, it's the former Tottenham Hotspur striker Chris Jones, who was signed from Manchester City on Thursday. And with Ian Edwards and Tommy Langley both injured, he goes straight into the side, and he's the one change in the team compared with last week, when they went away for the first time at Leicester. Jim Cannon, the skipper, who was injured then, has recovered and is fit. The new man in the Wolves lineup is Alan Dodd, signed from Stoke City, also on Thursday, and he moves into a change defence, which sees John Pender, 19 years old, recalled at number 5. Wolves trying to end a sequence which has seen them concede 4 goals on the last 2 Saturdays. And back at Selhurst Park comes an old favourite, John Burridge, very much a part of the happy Palace of the late 70s, before the days of so many changes behind the scenes. Crystal Palace defending the only unbeaten home record in the 2nd division. First header was from Billy Gilbert, and Palace playing from left to right. Joe Gallagher is the player who's been replaced by Pender, for being, I suppose we could put it, 25% inefficient. Early work by Kevin Mabbutt. Hilaire. Mabbutt again. Brother of the Tottenham and England Mabbutt. Plenty of time for Cannon. Faced now by Mel Eves, but not for long. Jones. Jeff Palmer. Gray. Jones, he was challenged from behind unfairly. First cry of Eagles, nickname of Crystal Palace. Marvellous header. Jim Cannon the scorer. And John Burridge never saw it. And again, Wolves concede a goal from a set piece, and that has been their problem recently. Flew off the head of Cannon, as his name would suggest. And certainly, John Burridge was blasted. The goal coming just into the 2nd minute. And it certainly sent a buzz around the ground. Eves, can he get there? He can, it's a good save, and Gray just over the top. Well, that's what you might call a lively beginning. Free kick against Gilbert. referee, who's already been end-to-end, is Alan Robinson of Waterlooville in Hampshire. Great. So he might have been pulled a bit then. Here's Jerry Murphy. Henry Houghton. Or even Vince Hilaire. Jones, yes! Well, he steered it in well, and Alan Dodd is the player left sitting down. Chris Jones takes a little over 4 minutes to score his first goal for Crystal Palace, and the man he just got the better of was the other newcomer, Alan Dodd, who just failed to mark him on the near post. So some opening for Crystal Palace. Ten goals past Wolverhampton Wanderers in 2 matches and another 4 minutes of the third game. Jeff Palmer. Out by Cannon. And the flag up for offside. Murray still finding time to say some things. He's a bit greedy. John Burridge's view of Paul Barron's clearance. Cannon. Free kick is in Wolves' favour. Can you hear us on the box? Well, we can certainly see them, that's for sure. Great. Hilaire. Hibbett there first. Palmer. Could be promising. And it's in. And the scorer is Mick Matthews. What a long diagonal ball that went across 4 defenders. A simple nod back, and Matthews makes it 2-1. And the latest statistic is 3 goals in 7 minutes. Free kick has been given. Taken. Murphy, Hilaire, Mabbott. Offside flag. On by Eaves. No foul, says the referee. It's a look we've seen before. And the look was at the linesman. Gilbert at Gray's back. Hibbett. That's nice. Hilaire left, Farmer. Oh, what a good save! Really fine save by Barron from Bell Eaves. We can see why Alan Mallory, when we looked at him, was waving the players forward. No time with 2 goals in 4 minutes to sit back on it. Bit of pushing. Wouldn't have counted anyway. Ian Cartwright, yet ready to get into the game, the 17-year-old. Good throw out by Paul Barron. Dodd. Clark. Eves, if he can take it, and he can. Barron to meet him. And left him very little to shoot at. Ball. Luton the culprit. Gray. Hibbett. A nice opportunist try. Clark. Oh, good save! Oh, no! Oh, how unlucky can you get? It's 2 each. And there's the most disappointed man. He did well to get to that from Wayne Clark. The scorer smiles. And the goalkeeper looks the exact opposite, and the score is 2-2. 34 minutes gone, and Wolves have recovered from the disastrous 4 minutes which opened the match, and they conceded the 2. Hilaire. Still teasing them. Lovely player with such natural ability. Although one does wonder why he's not yet really made the breakthrough. Because he's so gifted. To run the whole gamut of the manager's emotions in 34 minutes. That could be problems. Here's Gray for Eves, just had a bit too much on it. Bit of holding down by Dodd. Bar Barron and Lovell of the Palace side are in attacking positions. That's Burridge's. Cannon! John Burridge came for it. He must have known that having come for it, it should have been his. Instead, he let it go away. But Cannon couldn't take the advantage. Eves to Hibbett. Gray, yes! Lovely header. That's a peach. Really good move by Wolves and finished quite exquisitely by Andy Gray. Just the brush of the forehead, tucked it inside the post. And from 2 down, Wolves now lead 3-2. Here's Clark. Cartwright, Eves got back onside in time. Good challenge by Gilbert. Corner. Gray wants it again. Good height on the header from Murphy. Handball. Gilbert, the offender. Palace need the half-time break. Can't come quick enough for them. Fender is up. But it's too long for everybody. It would have gone on its own. An indication of how fortunes have changed. Gilbert felt compelled to put the ball out. Clark comes for the short one. Hibbett. Referee has looked twice at his watch. And the free kick for Palace. Murphy takes on by Jones. And Jones, one of the 5 scorers in an eventful half. A half which has seen a remarkable comeback, although the story is only halfway through. John Burridge beaten twice inside 4 minutes, but it was a moment of bad luck concerning the other goalkeeper, Paul Barron, which really turned the game when Clark got the equaliser, and Gray with an exquisite goal giving Wolves a half-time lead. Now, before today's match, only 4 players in the Crystal Palace side have scored in league football this season. They've increased that total by 50%, and even so are on the wrong end of a total of 5 goals. Steve Lovell. Battling by Chris Jones. Beaten in the end by Pender. Giles being encouraged to play it back to Paul Barron, who really was unlucky in the equaliser at 2-2. Hilaire. Oh, it's worked for him. Oh! Matthews who gave it to John Burridge. Burridge had to drop on it pretty quickly. Hilaire. Giles on the far side, but it won't reach him. Piece of improvisation by Alan Dodd. He rather telegraphed his clearance. This is Hinshelwood. Oh yes, it's in! Well, determination saw the clearance early, but there is no doubt that while the scorer gets the congratulations, there were 1 or 2 looks at John Burridge in front of the populace who used to almost worship him. He's made a mistake. He obviously thought that was going wide. Instead of that, it tucked itself into the corner, and with 56 minutes gone, it's 3-all. Here's Andy Gray. Oh, a few moments of panic there too. Eves was wide. Jones. Gilbert. Well, Hinshelwood did, why not him? Oh, it's a good save. And truth, a rather harder shot than the one by Hinchelwood which scored. Burridge gets the congratulations, and Palace got a corner. Cannon prepared for the long run in. Gilbert is ahead of him, out by Gray. It's another thing he's done very well. Pender. Cannon. Well used by Gilbert, what it should have been. Hilaire. Well, first he was pulled, and then he was flattened, and John Humphrey were quite right to get booked. Not just for that challenge, but there have been one or two what one might describe as physical assaults on Vince Hilaire. Hinchelwood. Free kick for the second piece of holding. Six on the edge of the 18-yard line. Mabbott, Houghton, Jones, Lovell. Murphy did well to let it run. Now Cannon. It didn't fall quite as he would have liked. He had to rather poke at it, but it was enough to send Burridge scurrying across his goal. Matthews, Clark. Humphrey. For waiting, and that's a fine goal by Matthews. His second of the match. 72 minutes gone, and Wolves are ahead again with another finely directed header. And the long cross, which Mick Matthews turned away quite superbly. Graham Hawkins, the Wolves manager, has now come down to join his number two, Jim Barron, on the bench. And must, like the rest of us, be wondering whether there are any more twists to come. The Wolves, having conceded 4 goals last Saturday and the Saturday before, at this time scored 4. That's a good ball from Hinchelwood, and a good block by Cartwright. It's a corner. Taken quickly, Giles. Hilaire! Oh, blocked on the line! Unbelievable clearance off the line. And it was made by the man who scored 2 goals, Mick Matthews. Gray, offside against Eaves, but the referee will allow play to continue. Mr. Robinson looks for the first time at his watch. Three to Wolves it is. Marvellous entertainment. Andy Gray goes to take the referee's hand, scorer of a magnificent goal himself. But it's Mick Matthews who in the end decided the match in Wolves' favour on a score of 4-3. A match that Palace began by scoring twice in 4 minutes. In the end, they lose.
Well, not a good game for goalkeepers, but I'm certain many others enjoyed it. That's also the case for our next match. It's from the First Division. It's between Luton and Southampton, both presently in the relegation zone, but with enough style and class to keep spectators on their toes for 90 minutes, to say nothing of commentator John Motson.
Just to prove that some contracts in football do retain their credibility, David Pleat remains manager of Luton, despite an official approach for his services this week from Charlton. In the summer, the Luton directors rejected a similar bid for Pleat from West Brom. His team today reflects a significant change. Wayne Turner has been switched to number 10 to stiffen the Luton midfield after a spell of 6 league games without a win. Mal Donaghy is back in defence after missing last week's match at Coventry, and at number 8, top scorer Brian Steen marks his 200th league appearance. Southampton are able to recall Mick Mills, who was ineligible for their Milk Cup match on Wednesday. He replaces Nick Holmes, who has a rib injury, and if you include the injured Malcolm Waldron, Southampton have lost 6 of last season's team, which may help to explain why they haven't yet won away from home. But there's a return to Kenilworth Road for number 5, Chris Nicol, who between 1969 and 72 made 98 league appearances for Luton, one of the 4 clubs with which he's won promotion. Referee making sure there are 22 players on the field there, Kieran Barrett from Coventry. Southampton in blue start the match, playing from the right. Their formation from the kick-off suggesting that Mick Mills may be playing on the right to look after David Moss. Here's Armstrong. Mills, I think, encouraged to keep a very close watch on David Moss this afternoon. Indeed, Agbula more in the centre of the defence. And there's Danny Wallace going in. It's Brian Horton for Luton and Steen. Kirk Stevens at right back. And there's Wallace. Well, the young players being pushed through now at the Dell. They've had to be in many ways. Danny Wallace with 3 goals to his credit so far this season. Steen, little ball tucked back. It's a favourite Luton ploy, that, on the edge of the penalty area, but the touch has to be absolutely right. Goodyear. Agbula. Walsh. Oh, lovely ball. Moss. And still Moss, saved by Shilton. Beautifully set up by Paul Walsh, and David Moss, very adept from that sort of angle, holding off the challenge, but he's got to beat the England goalkeeper today. And it's Mills again, if the ball was still in play, but I'd rather doubt it. Because the linesman on this side had flagged for an earlier offside in the move. Well, we're over halfway through the first half, and it's lively, entertaining stuff. Nothing on the end of it up to now. Here's Agbula for Southampton. Rofe. Horton. Oh, good turn by Walsh. Steen. Brian Steen for Luton Town should have scored. A man who's put the ball in the net 12 times this season will look back on that chance and think, even with Peter Shilton in goal, there should have been no mistake. Lovely turn by Walsh, who put Steen in the clear. He had time, he had room, but they don't always go in. On your bad days, they go wide. Rofe. Wallace. Oh, Danny Wallace! What a tremendous goal! 27 minutes gone, and Danny Wallace with an individual effort, which Southampton have got every reason to acknowledge like that. Within a minute or two of Luton having a great chance at the other end, Wallace accelerating in from the left, saw his chance and drove that crisply into the far corner of the net. And Southampton take the lead with Wallace's 4th goal of the season. Well, that's the way to finish. And here's Armstrong. Wallace is well forward again in this attack. Back to Mills. They've got 2 others in there too. Here's Wallace offside this time, but he's got the Southampton crowd who've travelled up from the south coast. Enthusiastic, and rightly so. It was a fine goal. Forward by Moss. Here's Walsh. Horton just touched it on to Money. And here comes Hill. Southampton with their teeth well and truly in the match now. There goes Moran. There's a good ball by Williams, and Moran is clean through. And saved by the feet of Findlay. Moran, the top scorer. What a fine ball through by Steve Williams initially, which sent Moran in the clear. Plenty of time to think about it, perhaps too much time really. And Findlay, coming off his line, read the intentions and made the save with his feet. Fine through pass, though, by the Southampton captain. Well, Luton's normal, accurate passing game seems to have got either bogged down here or else just subdued by a very keen Southampton side. Well played, Moran. And Wallace was in there. Castles is still in there with a chance. And he took it in the end. 5 minutes before half-time, Southampton have gone 2-0 up. And on the play, they deserve it. What a lovely little dummy by Steve Moran from that throw. And he worked it beautifully, didn't he? And when the chance seemed to have gone, it came to Castles, who even then he paused. But he paused for good reason, because when he hit it, it was in the roof of the net. Well, Castles has been going through a thin time of late, bit of pressure on him for his position from young David Puckett, and to score that goal may well help his confidence. As for Luton, it's 2 months since they won a home match in the First Division, and they're trailing here 2-0, having failed to find their touch in the first half. Steve Williams driving it forward, but there's been rather more purpose to Southampton than there has to Luton, and Steve Moran's little dummy there worked from the throw-in. Was a piece of skill that will be discussed, I'm sure, for a long time. Steen. And the man with the ball at the end of the first half, Brian Steen. The events possibly hinging on his miss when he was clean through, because after that Southampton took over. Danny Wallace gave them the lead a minute later with a splendid individual goal, and Keith Castles made it 2 as Luton's confidence drained and Southampton's increased. Jake Findlay, the Luton goalkeeper, was publicly blamed by his manager David Pleat after last week's defeat at Coventry for 2 of the goals. And I wouldn't think he was too happy with the second Southampton goal today, when there are rumours that Luton may be thinking of signing another keeper. Luton's last home win in the First Division was back on September the 18th, when they beat Brighton 5-0. 2-0 down here, after a recent run of 6 league games without a win. Tested their confidence and their nerve following their promotion and that bright start they made. Here's Moss. He'll be hoping to turn the match in the second half. He's made a fair start too. Stevens had got well forward, and here's Ricky Hill, and he turned well against Wright and chipped one into Shilton's arms. There's quite a lot of mist gathering around Kenilworth Road at the moment. And Mills sees the chance to come forward, and he goes on now. Williams, it is on the ball. Mills here, and it's back for David Armstrong. You can see from that picture just how foggy it's become in the second half. Floodlights doing their best to pierce the gloom here at Kenilworth Road. But the English football winter is there for all to see. Money. Steen. Right. Hooved forward by Williams. Stevens. Walsh. Oh, that's well played. Ricky Hill. There's a handball, penalty. Handball seen conclusively by the referee, who didn't need a second look and has pointed to the spot. Ricky Hill got the ball out on the right. He drove it against Chris Nicholl, and the referee had one look and said penalty. Now, are they going to give the job back to Moss? They are. He gave it up a couple of months ago to Steen, but they've given the job back to David Moss. And he's missed it, and from the rebound it's been put in by Kirk Stevens. No, the referee has pointed. I think a linesman's flag says offside against another player. Stevens put the ball in the net, he remonstrates, but the flag was up, and I suspect another Luton player must have gone into an offside position as that ball ricocheted back off the woodwork from Moss's penalty. Offside, presumably. Stevens' effort chalked off, and it's still 2-0. No excitement here, but from Luton's point of view, no joy at the end of it. They're still 2 down. Turner. Oh, and Armstrong's had a chance to make it 3, and he's gone wide of the goalkeeper and still hasn't got his shot in. Can Wallace? No. Well, the man who will be most relieved there is Goodyear, because Armstrong dispossessed him, and for a player of his quality, had an easy chance to make it 3-0. He delayed, and that chance went. So Stevens into Hill. And Hill gets his shot in. Oh, what a fine goal! And just the tonic Luton were looking for. To beat Shilton from there, it has to be a good shot. And Ricky Hill provided just that. 64 minutes gone. Hill picking the ball up in his favourite position. Loosely call it inside right if you like. He drifts across, looks up, sees the chance to drive one, and what a fine finish. Ricky Hill, who scored the last time Southampton came here scores here to make it 2-1, and immediately Radi Antic comes on as substitute, and Luton take off Richard Money. And I would imagine the reorganisation there will be Wayne Turner to left back and Antic in the middle of the field. And Williams, Wallace is coming in far side. On the chest of Walsh. Moran, Castles and Wallace to his left. Castles again. And Armstrong's coming in, he heads it back, but only to Finlay. Should have been 3 for Southampton there, surely they had the extra man. Well, a match of many chances. Antic. Turner. And wide it goes to Moss. And Steen is in there! A typical Luton goal brings them level. The ball played wide to Moss. The cross was orthodox. Steen was challenged by Agboola, but the ball beat Shilton to his left. 69 minutes gone, 2-2, and how the match has turned. It could so easily have been 3-0 to Southampton. Instead, Luton are right back in it. And Steve Williams. Southampton again have got 3 players pressed well forward, looking for space. Wallace, inside Stevens to Williams. But Luton have tightened up in the second half. And there goes Hill. This is Moran. Donaghy. Luton looking the stronger side now. Walsh. But if they were to overcommit forward, Southampton would punish them. Castles is in on Wallace's pass. Wallace is making ground. Oh. Well, he still battled back. Look at that from Castles. Mills. Armstrong. Chance of a shot from him, left foot. It's in! David Armstrong. 6 minutes from time, Southampton are back in front, and Castles, an enormous amount of credit for him in the move. When the ball finally reached Armstrong, he made up for his earlier miss by burying that down to Finlay's left, and talk about finding the corner. That was a really beautiful shot. So Luton, in a sense, have got to start all over again. Here's Horton. Just 1 goal this time to make up. Hill. And again, it's that break out of defence. Moran with 2 coming in from the left. Luton going to provide a dramatic finish. There are only 4 minutes left of normal time. Agboola across. Not much time for stoppages, I would think, today. There hasn't been. The play doesn't seem to have stopped. Turner. That's a good ball. Stevens. Outside him, Ricky Hill. Chance, Goodyear, yes! Shilton's made a mistake, and Goodyear has scored. It's 3-3. Well, amazing. Walsh appeared to have the chance, it went. The ball came to Goodyear, he stabbed at it, Shilton didn't hold it, it trickled over the line. Well, everybody's human. So it looks after all like a point each. Oh dear me, Ricky Hill taken. Rofe was the offender there. Not vicious, just a bit late. Stoppage time now. Have Luton. Oh, he's going to book Rofe. The third Southampton player to be cautioned. And in went Donaghy there. And the final whistle goes. The crowd, only 11,000 people, but my word, what entertainment they had. Peter Shilton disappointed perhaps at the end that the third goal went in against him. But what can you say? Southampton were 2-0 up, went on going forward, it got back to 2-2. Southampton in front again, and Luton finally level. A point apiece, but every player made his contribution. And it's wonderful, really, that two teams in the bottom five in the first division are prepared to come out and play like that and provide that sort of entertainment, which is just what the game in the current climate badly needs.
Good to see, wasn't it? It was so full of life because although both teams are low in the table, as John said, they're capable of playing football of the very highest quality. And because of a temporary lack of belief or experience here and there, they're also capable of some generosity to their opponents. It produced splendid entertainment though, and the best feature for me was that even when hitting the ground very hard indeed, no player on either side put pressure on the referee to take a name. But what about that penalty incident? It's not surprising that the managers concerned saw it differently, but they were equally eloquent in presenting their case.
I was very surprised at first. I couldn't see what the reason was, but it seems obvious to me now that the referee appeared to think that Moss somehow was interfering in play, because he was in front of the ball when the ball was struck by Stevens. As clean as a whistle. Shilton had no chance of saving it. And I would feel that the spirit of the game is such that that type of thing should be allowed. If you take the theory and the rules to the ultimate in a case like that, that really sparks off bad feeling.
Well, the man that took the penalty apparently was right in the frame of the goal area, so he's got to be in the vision of the goalkeeper, hasn't he?
So that's
interfering with play.
Interfering with play and offside, rightly given.
You have got your referee's badge, John, I know that, so don't ask me obvious questions.
Well, it's just a question of interference, isn't it? Because David Pleat feels he was in an offside position but not interfering. That's the point I was trying to make.
I've always thought that's the area. The referees have a meeting on Sunday, and it's an old chestnut, but I think the only law you can have there is if he is in the 6-yard box, he's got to be interfering. If he's out, leave it to their discretion.
Well, and of course, it can only be left to the referee in the end. Previously, linesmen flagged and referees judged interfering or not. But now linesmen are asked to exercise discretion too before putting up the flag. As it's finally a matter of opinion, in this case both David's and Laurie's arguments could stand up. If you look at the incident from the normal angle, David Moss is in the 6-yard box, and if a referee used that rule of thumb, is positively interfering with play. But if you switch to a shot from behind the goal, and what a fine shot that is there of Peter Shilton diving as the ball strikes the bar, you can see as Stevens returns it, Shilton over on the left of the goal. That's the first time, and a very good volley there, that Shilton in no way is unsighted as a result of David Moss just coming into your picture on the right. But he's pointing out that, in his opinion, he's interfering with play. Well, not easy to be right every time, is it? And that's why the only bit of advice I could offer, which I'm sure everyone would favour, is that in instances of this kind, where fine judgment is called for, the referee and linesman should consult. Two heads are better than one, and those few seconds thinking time can only help them reach the right decision.
Well, there's been a further development today concerning Derby County, who on Thursday were fined £10,000 by a Football League Commission for poaching Bradford City manager Roy McFarland. Derby chairman Mike Watterson, who strenuously denied any illegal approach throughout the affair, told me that the club will sue the league and its administrators and seek a trial by High Court if they fail to win their forthcoming appeal. Watterson claims that what should have been a fact-finding commission turned out to be a courtroom. He said all Derby's admissible evidence was thrown out of the window, including Roy McFarland's own categorical denial of having been illegally approached. This afternoon, League Secretary Graham Kelly stated the proceedings were conducted with the utmost fairness and the members of the Commission reached an honest view. Well, also this afternoon, the League Referees and Linesmen's Association have been holding an unprecedented mid-season meeting at Coventry to evaluate the so-called clampdown, which has led to a record number of sendings off, 123. A few moments ago, their secretary, John Goggins, said, "Our members feel that all the changes have produced positive improvements, and there will be no let-up as far as we're concerned." Contrary to some reports this morning, Arsenal goalkeeper Pat Jennings is alive and well and will report at Highbury tomorrow for training and to discuss a new contract. Pat was even amongst the crowd who watched Arsenal's 4-2 home defeat by Watford yesterday, following which manager Terry Neal was very critical of goalkeeper George Wood. Knowing George as I do, I'm sure he'll be extremely upset about his manager's claim that he could have saved 2 of the goals. Another Scottish international keeper used to criticism is Alan Rough, who yesterday made his debut for Hibernian. And he won't be too happy with one of the goals he let in at home to Celtic, who are playing in the white shirts.
Charlie Nicholas, that's a good ball, and Hibs look very open there, and that must be, it is. Frank McGarvey. Proven. That's Nicholas. Wants to go inside and does. There's Buns, Proven. Celtic linking well again. Proven tries to get to the line. The chip must come, there it is, delicately. McStay and a great save. No, it's gone in. The second goal by McStay. This is Turnbull. It's way wide. Murray can bring it down and shoot. He does. 2-1. Tommy Burns to the outside. That was very neat. Sinclair stumbled a little, recovers well. Oh, no cover for McGarvey, and he punishes Hibs, and how they deserve to be punished after marking or lack of it like that. And that's taken by Turnbull, well wide. Jemison turns and there's Murray. Oh, would you believe it? 3-2.
Now some transfer news. Leeds United's Frank Worthington has been talking to Sunderland manager Alan Durban today, but it's understood Frank would prefer a move to one of the Manchester clubs, both of whom are interested, or to one of his former clubs, Bolton Wanderers. News of forthcoming appointments in London. Ian Greaves will talk again with Charlton tomorrow, but the club stress he has not yet been offered the manager's job. John Hollins, meanwhile, is now definitely on Millwall's shortlist after meeting Chairman Alan Thorne today. But Thorne also threatened this afternoon to close down the 3rd Division ground for good unless there is an immediate improvement in the behaviour of the hooligan element of the club. Writing in today's programme, Distributed, he said, "I shall not wait for the FA to close down the den. I shall do it myself, and when I do it, it will be irrevocable." The result from the den, Millwall 1, Reading 1, and in Division 4, Northampton 3, Darlington 3. Some attractive Milk Cup ties this week, starting tomorrow with West Ham versus Lincoln in a 3rd round replay. On Tuesday in the 4th round there's Arsenal versus Huddersfield, and Burnley against Birmingham, Liverpool versus Norwich, and Sheffield Wednesday versus Barnsley. The following night, Forest play Brentford, Spurs play Luton, and Southampton visit Manchester United, a contest which will evoke memories of a previous cup meeting.
Gallagher to Stokes, who's onside. 1-0.
Every time we play them, I remember that game, and that was the biggest day in our club's history. I remember the next year, wasn't it, 77?
You played them again?
And we played them in the cup and drew at the Dale and had to go there for a replay. And I remember saying to Tommy, "Dog, oh, you'll win it now," because they beat us in the replay. And I wouldn't like to think that we would lose this game, but it's not a bad assumption that whoever does win it has got to be a force to be reckoned with, because there'll only be 8 teams left in there.
It certainly promises to be a fine game. Incidentally, for those of you who've been watching the snooker, Tony Mio has drawn level with John Virgo at 4 frames all. Well, now it's time for the November Goal of the Month competition, in which there are 6 fine goals to choose from. I'll remind you how to enter in a moment, but first a look at the goals, starting with goal A, scored by Ian Rush for Liverpool against Everton.
King.
listening so fast. And leads the charge. Rush to his left. Onside, Ian Rush. 1-0 Liverpool, brilliant goal. Moses, Stapleton. And Coppell had pulled away. Murin! Arnold Murin scores his first league goal for Manchester United.
Back for O'Callaghan. Oh, beautifully leaving Gordillo. And Victor. Great run by O'Callaghan. And it's in! Frank Stapleton has scored! Claimed by Eves. To Hibbett. Gray! Yes! Lovely header. That's a peach.
Rofe. Wallace. Oh, Danny Wallace!
What a tremendous goal! Antish. Turner. And wide it goes to Moss. And Steen is in there!
Well, here's a check on those goals. Goal A, Ian Rush. B, Arnold Murin. C, Frank Stapleton. D, Andy Gray. E, Danny Wallace. F, Brian Steen. And here's how to enter. You put your name and address on the left-hand side of a postcard, please, and your goal selections in 1, 2, 3 order on the right-hand side. And address the postcard to Goal of the Month, BBC Television, London, W12 8QT. That's Goal of the Month, BBC Television, London, W12 8QT. And the prize for the first postcard drawn out of the sack that coincides with the choice of our panel is £100 of the premium bonds. Good luck with your entries, and let me just remind you that you can see highlights of one of those Milk Cup ties in Sports Night on Wednesday, which is packed with sporting action and starts at 10:05. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that rather busy hour of goals and near misses, blunders and brilliance, which might add a grey hair or two to the managers concerned looking for total efficiency. Nearly always, though, goals arise from someone's mistake, and for every jubilant scorer there has to be an equally despondent face, sometimes very well known indeed. Good afternoon.